All right, welcome everyone to the Last American Pubcast. I am PJ Williams, host of Wartime Propaganda, joined this week and every week by my co-hosts Frank of Let's Be Frank and Tom of America Floats. And this week we have our very first guest, Drew Hancock. So sit back, raise a glass, and enjoy the show. Frank, Tom, Drew, how you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, just got done playing some golf with my son and ran late in getting into the studio. So yeah, I'm all set, ready to go.
Nice.
I'm doing well. I licked all the oil slicks
today?
on my windows clean. We're good.
You got the? Did you say you got the oil slicks on your windows clean?
Yep, I said I was just doing a little bit of choring. Yep, but Frank, that's a good question. 9 or 18? Did you make the turn?
Just 9 today.
Nice. Drew, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, I went to the DMV today, so I'm much happier now. Thanks for the invite. I'm glad to be your first guest. It's an honor.
Yeah, well, thank you. Welcome to the show. Sorry, go ahead.
Fresh
Tom.
from the DMV. It sounds like you're doing an open mic bit in a minute. Like I just came from the DMV. I'm like, okay, I can't wait to hear this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me tell you about this DMV. Did you know that at the DMV they're slow?
I've got all these bases on the wall behind me. I feel like I need to pull one out and do like a Seinfeld bass line for the next 30 seconds.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
That would be a
Thanks for
great
making the
opening
time to
the
come
show.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the invite. The intro, let me say, the intro was very good. I like that, and looking forward to seeing what we talk about.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah,
well, Frank, you got a story for us to start off with tonight, right?
Yeah, well, obviously it's in the thumbnail. We're talking about a two-tier justice system at play. We've been seeing this take place now for the last few years. It just kind of seems like it's been even more in your face over the course of the last year, where people are able to get out on bail and not face any consequences, but people that are caught up in the political game that might be on the wrong political spectrum seems to be paying penalties more so than the other side. And I'm speaking about Steve Bannon, who recently was just found guilty in a D.C. court for a contempt of Congress charge, which took place this last week, which was Thursday, I believe, where they found him guilty. So let me go pull that story up here for us to take a look at and see where we go from here. So here we got, this is coming to us from WayneDupree.com. It says, jury convicts Steve Bannon of contempt charge of Congress. And he's boasts that appeals are coming. So here we are. We are dead set in the middle of a midterm election season right now. And we are still seeing more and more political witch hunts go out around the country. I mean, we talked about on the first show, we talked about what was happening in Michigan, for example, where they were going after governor candidates and things like that there. We see it happening other places around the country. And it seems like it is a double standard, because Eric Holder, if we remember, the AG for President Barack Obama, was also held in contempt of Congress, but the DOJ failed or refused to even bring any charges on it. So where do we go from here? What is the recourse? And is there going to be a mandate now from the GOP heading into the midterms as, hey, you guys have just opened up a president, or a Senate president, you guys better get ready because we're coming. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that's the problem with the Republican parties. We don't do mutually assured destruction well enough. So when you look at the way that they're going after every political candidate, they went after Ryan Kelly with the FBI. They've gone after Trump with 2 impeachments. They're still doing the January 6th BS committee nonsense. And, when Trump gets into office, there's that clip, and it's been viral forever, and people still kind of cheer it, but it didn't lead to anything, which was if I'm president, you'd be in jail type thing. We don't do the mutually assured destruction type stuff. So as long as this stuff keeps happening from the left and we don't actually push back, I think it's just going to keep happening. It's just like with the Supreme Court. They could pack the Supreme Court, but when we get into power, we wouldn't actually put justice back in to balance the courts out.
Yeah, I agree. I think when Steve Bannon says everyone is now the target, they're coming for everyone. That was the quote. I think they asked him, what his current feeling was, and he'd done a couple different interviews after having the verdict come in. He doesn't have sentencing yet, so we don't know what his punishment will be. He could do more jail time or prison time than any, and this was the point made on the Patriots.win today, but he'll do more jail time if he gets sent to jail, sentenced, than Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Lisa Page, anybody else who actually worked to unseat a duly elected government official. I don't think he's really done anything wrong, and they want to throw him in jail, in prison. So yeah, when he says they're coming for everyone and this is war, and he sounds a little bit like Andrew Breitbart, I guess that gets my blood pumping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this concept of when I am weaker than you, I ask for freedom because that is according to your principles. But when I am stronger than you, I take away your freedom because that is according to my principles. I think what PJ's talking about, responding in kind, I think that's something that has to at least be considered, because things aren't fair and they never will be fair as long as progressives control the entire administrative state, which they do currently. All of these institutions, people talk about systemic racism. I think it's very much the opposite. Everything is controlled by progressives at this point in time. Every government institution, the corporate press, Hollywood, entertainment, everything is controlled by progressives. And at a certain point, like, yeah, you have to push back. These things aren't fair. There are double standards everywhere because of this. And yeah, recognize that and then just deal what you can from there.
Well, you're exactly right, though. Even if it is a double standard, that's the problem, is that without the threat of mutually assured destruction, it's going to continue to go in one direction. So yeah, you might have to like bend your principles a little bit in order to get things back into balance. But I don't see. I just don't see any other way right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see Steve?
Yeah, and I think for a little while you're going to see the pendulum swing harder the other way.
Probably.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like,
do we have a delay? Do we have a lag?
You're lagging a little bit, Tom.
Oh,
Yeah, you have been. Yeah, sorry.
All right, technical difficulties. That's all right. This was a stream set up on the fly, right?
On a golf course.
Welcome back.
Tom's got that welfare internet going on over there.
Are you on Starlink?
It's not me. I should be fine. My thing says I'm good.
Okay.
But obviously it's me.
Oh, goodness. So, looking at this, and we've talked about how, obviously progressives and stuff are holding a lot of these positions of power, whether it be in the judiciary or in the administrative state. Does Steve Bannon do any time? Do you think he's able to continue this appeal process where it will go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will then have to make a decision, and then of course it would set a precedent moving forward?
You want to take this one first, Drew?
I have no idea. That question's beyond me. I don't know the ins and outs of that stuff, so I'll leave it to y'all.
I didn't hear it.
So, repeat your question real quick, Frank.
Oh, goodness.
Sorry, Mr. Frank, we weren't paying attention. Can you ask the question again?
You look a lot clearer now. I think
you do look a lot clearer now.
Well, joke's on you. I didn't do a damn thing. So
I was just talking about, do you believe that Steve Bannon will see a day in jail, or will the appeal process work itself out where it does reach the Supreme Court and then they have to make a decision, then based off of that decision sets a precedent moving forward with political witch hunts moving forward?
Yeah, so I think just like how we're trying to fight Russia as a proxy war through Ukraine, we're going to see them try to imprison Donald Trump by first getting the Trump advisor. They're going to call him a Trumper. They're going to say, Steve Bannon, that's a guy that basically ran the 2016 campaign. He's basically Trump. If we take Steve Bannon out, we basically take the brain out of the Trump machine. We take the conductor out of the Trump train. And so I think they're going to try to put him on even weekends. Like, just give him something that will punish him. And then we'll say, we locked them up. We've got Trump acolytes doing jail time. And that's going to be it. Whether they, have any, depth of their story, whether the left delves further to realize, hey, this isn't really what they're saying it is. They're going to malign it. Just like they maligned Paul Manafort. They told you that he was guilty of all of these collusive efforts. And really, he just, did what all of the rich elite bankers do and try to hide some money when they're taking it back home. Which, by the way, I would do too if I were out making billions of dollars overseas. I would try not to pay as much taxes as possible bringing it home. That seems stupid to not do that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think they'll go after everybody they can, fight these proxy wars. They can't quite get to Trump, so they'll take. It started with, like you said, Carter Page and Manafort and things like that. So they've been gunning for Steve Bannon for 5 years now. So if they can put him in jail for even, like you said, even weekends, they're going to do it. And I think there's an escalation to this as well, and it's just getting worse.
It'll be Steve Bannon, and then it'll be the next person in that they think, well, if we can get Steve, we got the guilty verdict on a grand jury for Steve. Who's the next person closest to Trump? And then and then maybe it's Donald Trump Jr. or whomever, until they can get the man, the myth, the legend, the G. Otis himself. And I think obviously we all know that's who they're gunning for. But if they can get enough people that they can say this bubble surrounding Trump, this triangulation of people that all were working, they were conspiring with Trump. We can now say it's a RICO case. They all conspired with him. So whether or not they need Trump to have done anything wrong, they get 3 people in his cabinet that they can see doing something wrong. They may, and I wouldn't put it past them, try to justify charging him at that point. And you tell me I'm wrong that the left wouldn't do that right now.
Yeah, no, but you're right, because it does set that in people's minds. They read a headline that says, oh, Steve Bannon, it doesn't matter what the charge was, as long as they have Steve Bannon arrested, or Steve, like right now, the headlines are Steve Bannon arrested for contempt of Congress, right? Like, it doesn't matter what he was arrested for. As soon as that headline gets out there and they connect it to Trump, and they do that with enough guys, they could do a speeding ticket. It doesn't matter, as long as they can keep setting up the narrative that everybody around Trump is a criminal, therefore Trump is a criminal.
Exactly right. It's what they did with Paul Manafort, and the comment there. Peter Navarro is another one. If they can get you on a General Flynn, hey, we process crime. He lied to the FBI. Remember, they slammed General Flynn, multi-star general, tried to tell the public that he was a traitor, a man that should never have to buy himself a drink in a bar. Instead, probably wasn't able to go to a public bar safely. These are the people that should pay.
Yep.
No, totally agree. I mean, and moving forward, there's already plans being spoken to about, Trump's, if he were to win re-election in 2024, that he would clean out the administrative state, which I think is a good thing. I think the administration state needs to be cleaned out. And this is what's coming from Axios over here. They talked about a radical plan for Trump's second term. And it just quickly, illustrates former President Trump's top allies are preparing to radically reshape the federal government if he is reelected, purging potentially thousands of civil servants and filling career posts with loyalty to him and his America First ideology. People involved in the discussions tell Axios.
Yeah, I remember seeing all of the woke recruiting videos for the FBI, the CIA. If anyone was hired directly as a response or consequence of those woke recruiting ads, those should be the first heads of these 50,000 people to go. And then every other bureaucrat who has access to proof of election tampering, fraud, or whatever other malfeasance or mismanagement. There are people within the FBI, the DOJ, DHS, all of the other NSA, CIA, etc. They all have access to some kind of proof. You're telling me that 50,000 people, you can't imagine 50,000 handpicked people couldn't sit on information or otherwise be in fear for their life if they spoke up? I would love to see all of these people get thrown out so we can see what they're really doing.
This line right here, this paragraph from the article, really, I was pretty excited when I heard this. And this is something he should have probably have done in his first term, was cleaning out this administrative state. But the impact could go well beyond typical conservative targets, as the EPA, the IRS. Trump allies are working on plans that would potentially strip layers at the Justice Department, including the FBI, reaching into national security, intelligence, the State Department, and the Pentagon. Sources closest to the former president says, I do believe many of those agencies, we have so many redundant agencies. It reminds me of the movie Office Space, where what do you do here? Can you tell me what you do here?
None of these people. Well, this is the greatest endorsement for a Trump presidency in 2024 I've ever read. So I love the headline. It's like, oh, radical new plan to reduce the bloated bureaucratic state. And it like that's the radical plan, is to get rid of all of this ridiculous bureaucracy. It is the greatest Trump campaign ad I've ever read.
Yeah, I hope it wouldn't just be because it says on there, oh, he wants to get rid of all of he wants to clean house and replace them with Trump people. The majority of those positions, like the EPA, get rid of it.
Just
you
entirely.
Don't need to replace it with a Trump person. Just get rid of it entirely. Say you do replace the FBI director with someone who supports Trump. Okay, in 5 years, it's going to go back to the progressives again.
Right.
Yeah, I do like the maybe the analogy that they should use going forward is like, not only do you have to pull the weeds, but you also have to spray Roundup or some kind of control. Yeah. So, you don't want to replace them, but you do want to do something different other than just get rid of them and replace them with people that you hope will do it.
The replace line for a lot of these agencies is just as weak need as a lot of the, we need to remove Obamacare and replace it with something. We don't need to replace it with anything. We just need to get rid of it. So a lot of these agencies entirely, the EPA, the why am I blanking on it?
The Department of Education.
Thank you. The Department of Education. Yeah, absolutely. We need to just entirely get rid of the ATF entirely. ATF should be a party store. Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. I'm going to go there to buy all my stuff.
You make a good point.
If
Very
there was
compelling.
one set up on every corner, it'd be the busiest place in town.
I should open a party store and just call it ATF. That's just a great name. Do you think I would get?
Yeah, you can just put it opposite every CVS.
There we go.
CVS on one corner, ATF on the other. You're good to go.
Well,
in
in Michigan, you've got 2 corners taken because every CVS has a Walgreens on the other corner. So
it's a little competitive.
Yeah, so we'll have to have 3 of the 4 corners taken. I don't know what the 4th corner will be. Maybe a Big B's, but
no, it's always one of those really cheap haircut places.
Yeah,
it's like something clips, whatever it is. It's something clips.
Drew,
great clips, cheap clips. Yeah, all the clips.
Mail
Drew,
clips.
Could we survive as a nation gutting many of these agencies out of here?
Can we survive as a nation if we don't? That's the real question.
Yeah,
Could we survive as a stream if Frank didn't keep us on track?
Yeah, no, we couldn't. I will be right back, guys.
Nope. All right. Okay. I thought he said we're going to be right back. Like we were about to go to a commercial break. Listen, I'm in favor of like all the departments, get rid of them. Like, yeah, I'm a big fan of Ron Paul, and I like the idea of why don't we get back to the Constitution? I think we should go further than that even. But yeah, get rid of all of it. I think we're fine. How's big government worked out? We're $30 trillion in debt. Can we say bad words on here? Not that I'm going to, just curious.
Just avoid the F-bomb.
Okay. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. Let's dive into a little bit more of that where you were talking about, you dive into a little bit more about, gutting most of these things out of here, getting rid of the, how do you deal with the Fed? How do you get rid of the Fed? What's the steps do you take as a person being elected into office? What's the steps that need to be taken?
So this person in the comments saying, don't forget the FDA. Yes, get rid of the FDA. Audit the Fed. I would say in the Fed, which Frank just asked about. But
get rid of the CDC, right? We'd have to get rid of the CDC. We'd have to get rid of basically every alphabet agency. And Drew, I think you said it right. Why don't we just turn the clock back a bit? Install the Constitution again. Sometimes you have a computer and it gets just bogged down with downloads and games and other stuff. And you're like, you know what? This worked a lot better when it was brand new. So what do? You just go back, you delete everything, you save what you need, and then you do a factory reset. And maybe we could just do a constitutional backup. We backed up to the Constitution, and then you save like whatever, the civil rights, that laws that you like those, you like some amendments, and then hard reset. Go back to that point, save civil rights and a few other odds and ends that you all like.
Yeah. So, I mean, ideally, returning to the Constitution would be preferable. I don't think that's possible, at least not for the entire United States. I think it could be something locally to where, half the country secedes and, they decide to be a constitutional republic. But, California, all of these places, I don't think would ever go along with it. The majority of the country, I don't think would be happy going back to the Constitution because they love their handouts.
Well, I think that's where the government quote is like, if you do what the dumb masses want, there won't be a civilized society if you do what the people in society all clamor for as a mass. So like you have to, this is how they came up with the idea that senators were better men than the people in Congress, because the Congress, they were representative of the dirty masses and the public opinion was there. But in the Senate, it was more long-term structural planning from the elite, the people who were smart enough to think ahead. Maybe that's kind of what we see here.
Yeah, I like this comment here. It says, Tesla's downsizing America, can too.
Yeah, I wonder if McDonald's ever thought of that. You used to be able to like biggie size it, or maybe that's Burger King. McDonald's, you could supersize it. Yeah. Maybe in the future they'll have like an option to make your meal a little cheaper and you'll just get everything a little smaller.
Yeah. Speaking of meals though, I mean, if we're hungry, one of the biggest trends right now that's hitting Twitter is talking about cannibalism.
I thought you were going to give us a DiGiorno ad again, Frank. Yeah, this cannibalism ad is ridiculous. This cannibalism article is
it ridiculous. An ad? I don't know if it's an ad now.
We're not advertising for cannibalism yet. They haven't paid us yet. But did you have? Did you want me to pull it up, or did you have it pulled up?
No, go ahead, pull it up. That's what our lead-in was. Sorry.
Yep. No, sorry. Last week it was you disappearing. This week it's me. It's just that we started the stream and my wife usually brings me a beer when we start, and I just felt wrong being on the Last American Pubcast without my big old mug of beer, so I had to go grab it. So, Yeah. So this art, did you guys all read this? A Taste of Cannibalism. It says a spate of recent stomach-churning books, TV shows, and films suggest we've never looked so delicious to one another. And it kind of, it's really long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing.
I think Jill Biden's already there. She's talked about Hispanics being tacos. I mean, she sees us as food.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, and what's interesting too, the article highlights each individual multimedia like consumer product that you would have come across over the last 5 years. And so it goes through like a Hulu series and a Showtime series and something else maybe from Netflix that all either hinges on or surrounds on the idea of cannibalism. In one way or another, it's a woman eating flesh, or a man who's addicted to eating people, or another thing about eating people. You see more and more of this, and it's, of course, I think, they're telegraphing what it is they want to project onto society to get it all desensitized so that when it happens, it happens.
I thought there was a comedian a couple about 5-10 years ago, Daniel Tosh. I think many of you guys probably know who he is. He had a bit where he talked about what people probably would taste like. White people would probably taste like mac and cheese, and black people would taste like fried chicken. And it went down, and everybody was laughing. And then he got to the black person, whatever. He's like, "Ooh," say they're like, "What? You're not going to laugh? That's funny."
I remember that bit. That was a good bit. Yeah. But no, to Tom's point though, the Andrew Breitbart line, politics is down.
You're muted.
Yeah, you muted yourself.
Am I back? I don't know what happened. It's the same that happened last week.
Yeah, now you're on that your webcam mic.
Yep. My gosh.
I let PJ open the show, and this is what we got him so far.
I don't know. It like the stream freaks out of me, and it mutes my audio and changes it. I don't know why that's happening. So, but I was saying it's like the Andrew Breitbart line. Politics is downstream from culture, and I feel like recently we've been seeing it's not always that way. Like there is culture that's downstream of politics, and I would say something like Roe v. Wade would be a good example of that. We saw the American people's mindset towards abortion change after Roe v. Wade, not before. But no, this is a perfect example. Like the whole thing, it just keeps going on about we're getting more used to this. It's in these books. And there's this line here that's the weirdest one. It says, quote, "I think we're often drawn to things that repulse us the most." Miss Lyle, 42, said, Mr. Nickerson, 43, chimed in, "But I keep coming back to the idea of what portion of a revulsion to these things is a fear of ecstasy of them." That's a freaking weird line.
That's the decadence paradox, right? If you live in such decadence that you could not need for anything, that you need some kind of instigative angst in your life for there to be meaning and for there to be a challenge, then they seek it in worse and worse things. And when you're perverted already, it manifests like this.
Yeah, and it goes on to start talking about the anti-meat type stuff, like all of these eat the bugs type propaganda, eat the fake Bill Gates meat type stuff, and talks about movies with farming humans and stuff. And it's kind of making the case, it seems like, in a weird way of, eating beef is so terrible that it would be preferable if we started getting used to the idea of eating even eating humans, not just bugs or this fake meat stuff from Bill Gates. It's a really weird article.
Well, that's the thing you say. Oh, sorry, Frank. You say that politics is downstream from culture, the Breitbart quote. Yeah. And that makes total sense if you approach this all from the perspective of, as the elite, how do we get pedophilia, cannibalism, all the other ritualistic things that they need to do, and they want to do it in the open. They want to own you as a debt slave, and they want to do all their ritual stuff in the open. That's total power. If they can get that done politically, and they want that as the goal, then they have to first instill that in the culture. So you'll see that drip into the culture from time to time. They drip upstream, and then it comes down into politics. They go, well, politics has to reflect what the people want. And so I just want to push back on your one point where you said Roe v. Wade happens, and then the public opinion changes to reflect what
I
it
would
does.
say over 50 years, it definitely became much more pro-abortion for a while till it didn't. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. And I think we overcame, like humanity, realizing that this is wrong. No matter what propaganda they put in front of us, no matter how many generations of women are told it's about your rights, it's not about that thing in there. It's a clump of cells.
Right.
And as we get further along in science, more and more people realize that it's probably not a good thing to abort. I don't think that it changed minds. I think that people almost were given like that mass psychosis after Roe v. Wade. And I think people saw through it. And over time, they kind of ripped that blindfold off. And now we have new eyes to see.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I'm not saying now that we're more okay with abortion. I'm saying for 40, almost 50 years, the majority of it, the 30 years maybe after Roe v. Wade, it definitely became more and more acceptable. We believed the lies of safe, legal, and rare and all that stuff when it became apparent that it was that a life was a life, that, you know, science, like you said, ultrasounds, things like that started to wake people up. And then you saw the left for what it was, which is not pro-choice, but entirely pro-abortion. You see Liz Warren going out there and saying, it's terrible that these women could possibly get help from these pregnancy clinics that will give them money and food for their baby and help them find adoption and all that stuff. You see them for what they are. So it did come back. But I still think that, like, from 1973 to like the 90s, maybe into the early 2000s, it was a trend of becoming much more acceptable in society.
Yeah, well, if you guys remember old movie back from the 1970s where the main character, you know, is trying to find out what the food product was actually being given to people. Remember, Soylent Green is people.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is where we're headed. I believe it was even in 2019, there was a protester that crashed Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's campaign stop and talking about how AOC eats babies. She likes to eat babies. I mean, this is the stuff that's, you know, been talked about, you know, behind, you know, kind of closed doors in a way, or if you talked about it, you were kind of, you know, labeled a conspiracy theories. These people don't want to eat people. And here we are talking about an article where they're talking about the joys of eating people or the ecstasy of eating somebody.
Well, Tom said it exactly right earlier, that this is the open ritualistic nature of their weird cult. Like, we've seen they're banning the term groomer on Twitter, on Reddit. My favorite one is Reddit. They're now calling them predators on Reddit, right?
Predators.
So yeah, exactly. It's brilliant. But you're seeing all of this stuff. Like a few years ago, when you would say something like, you know, there's a satanic cabal of people that want to sacrifice your children and do blood rituals and things like that. And you would show people Marina Abramovich stuff and they would just call you a kooky conspiracy theorist. And now they're openly advocating for pedophilia. They're openly advocating for cannibalism and all these things. It's not a conspiracy anymore. It's like the Alex Jones is right meme is becoming truer by the day. But
yeah, I'm reading this article. That's whack.
That's whack.
That's my Zoomer analysis of the article about cannibalism. That's whack. No cap.
No cap.
Well, haven't we seen examples of this in the past? I mean, we've seen Hollywood celebrities do parties where they, they pretend they have like cakes and other things that are in the shape of. Right. I mean, you guys have seen these things.
Yeah, that was Marina Abramovich was behind some of those parties. Lady Gaga was at them.
Like an Eyes Wide Shut party.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like they put it in your face because they first need you to be desensitized to it. They need you to think it's all a big show. It's all a big joke. And eventually when it becomes reality, as the article says, what's the big deal? Hey, we're just pursuing that taboo. And that's what it is. Like the taboo pursuit. They want to do the worst thing. And it gets just to the next level to seek that same thrill, whether it's the young children or eating people or whatever other blood rituals. I don't know what you guys are all up to.
Well, Tom, was it episode 1 or episode 2 of our American Pubcast where we talked about the ritual they do over in Europe when they turned on the CERN?
You know what's funny? I don't think we actually talked about it on air. I think we were talking about it before.
We didn't talk about it on the show.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the CERN rituals because we had all the video and we kind of missed it. But yeah, the CERN stuff is so weird. All those rituals have been going on for a while. But I also wanted to say, you know, this idea of desensitizing people to cannibalism. We saw this in the background of this whole idea of MAPS for 10 years. And a lot of people didn't pay attention to it until the last 1 or 2 years where the push started becoming a lot more aggressive. But there were people pointing this out, that there was Slate articles. There was, I think it was mostly Slate. They had that guy on who was like, hey, I babysit kids and I'm also a pedophile, but I don't touch them, so it's fine. You know, like those type of articles were 10 years ago. And now we're seeing, you know, teachers that openly want to sexualize everything about their kids. They want to put literal pornography in schools. And these school boards are telling the parents, you're not allowed to read the pornography to tell us what's in these things, but we can put it in front of your kids. that's why it doesn't surprise me when you see stuff like this, and we'll come out and say like, hey, this is probably desensitizing people, and you be called crazy, and then in 3 years it'll not be eat the bugs, it'll be eat your neighbor.
Well, you know how you're not misunderstanding it. You know how you can prove that. They call the parents who stand up against any of this domestic terrorists. So it's not just like, we crossed a line, the wording was clumsy, we said this, we meant that. It's not that. They want to do it in front of you. And if you speak up about it, you get culled. So so long as everyone doesn't stand up at once, they're going to get away with it because they're just going to take an inch every time. It's like that. What was the movie in Korea? They did a red light, green light. That's what they're going to do.
Squid Game.
Squid Game.
There you go.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the only person who has not seen Squid Games yet.
Really? It was actually pretty good. I actually enjoyed it.
Everybody says it's good. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I remember whenever that Supreme Court decision in 2015 about gay marriage was passed, and people were saying, "Oh, well, pedophilia is next" or whatever, and I was like, "Yeah, that's not going to happen. They're not going to go out for pedophilia. Come on now, it's just gay marriage. It's nothing like that." And I still wouldn't say confidently that the two are related, but yes, they started going for pedophilia after that. Those people were entirely right, and I rescind my condemnation of that.
This is why I've found it so fascinating over the last few years to really study the Marxist infiltration of America over the last 50 to 100 years, because everything that you're seeing today has a history of more than 50, 60, 70 years. So like that one, there were people that probably knew who Harry Hay was, knew that he was the start of the LGBT pride movement, right? Well, before it was that, which is lesbian and gay pride movement or whatever, back in the 1960s. And he was also the founder of NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association. So when you start to see the connections back in the 1960s, and then people are like, you know what? If you start saying that men and women are interchangeable, it's going to necessarily lead to the transgender movement. When you start making all the sexual fetishes mainstream, it's going to lead to more and more progressively weirder and grosser and more nefarious sexual practices. It's probably just people studied history.
Are you saying that NAMBLA isn't just the knockoff Boy Scouts? Because that's what I was told when we joined. Are you saying that's... I got to make a call.
You guys didn't have sleeping bags. You just huddled together for warmth, right?
Yeah, it was a single bag.
Got a badge.
That's what they said. It was the single sleeping bag. I thought that was normal.
Yeah. Those merit badges are not going to cross over. No, I don't think so.
Let's just say we didn't iron them on.
Oh goodness. But yeah, that's just crazy how we've gone, we're talking about cannibalism right now and everything that's kind of, going along with it. I mean, what do we do with this? What do normies do with this information? Because when they see it, they still think it's like way out there and we're just absolutely nuts. How do you deliver this to normies?
Tell them to eat steak. That's the whole thing. We have to stop believing in the population bomb myth, or is that what it was? The population bomb lie, where we've reduced people to just we're a plague on the earth. This total druidic nonsense, this paganistic druidic nonsense, that the earth wasn't created for us. It's this anti-Christian idea that we're just a cancer on the earth. The Georgia Guidestones lie, and you continue to push people away from just eating natural meats and vegetables and things like that into these weirder and weirder things. I think this is weirdly enough inevitably where it leads. That people don't matter, that we're a cancer on the earth, so why would it matter if you eat your neighbor? You're doing something great for Mother Earth.
I do think it's funny when
the carbon they're trying to reduce.
When the left makes an accusation, it's always their confession. What am I trying to say? Their confession their projection. So when they say we're a scourge on the earth, we're a detriment on society, we need to limit ourselves, the only people really capable of feeling that way about humanity are the worst humans, right? And then you go to the comment here, which I loved. Joe molested his dog in the shower. You heard the story about Joe falling. He hurt his foot because the dog tripped him in the shower, and it was all weird. And we were like, why was the dog in the shower? And then we knew that Joe Biden took his daughter in the shower, and she wrote it. So now it all makes sense. The shower, the dog, the molestation, and the pedophilia slipping into, what other bestiality we're talking.
Well, I think what that one is, the White House did some editorializing. Joe said he tripped over his bitch in the shower. Yeah. So
it's not the worst thing Dr. Jill Biden's been called to this week, by the way.
Speaking of Biden, this week he announced he had cancer. and the media didn't even. Nobody asked about it. Nobody in the press conference said, "Diversity hire press secretary, does Joe Biden have cancer? Why did he say he had cancer?" Nobody asked. I figured everyone would be asking, wanting to know.
Did Pete Ducey not even ask?
See him. They all see how he's doing, so they know cancer is not the worst thing he's got to deal with. They're not even worried about that.
The funny response, the best response to the cancer thing was, "Well, that's he. You know, he doesn't know what he's saying. He has dementia." Like that's your two options. It's either Joe Biden actually has cancer, or the guy has no clue what he's saying because he's demented.
Well,
Neither option's good.
They said he was time slipping.
He has COVID.
No, they said he was time slipping, that he was just remembering and referring to a time when he did have skin cancer, but he's had it removed. And it's like, okay, well, in that moment, then in his mind, it was 2008.
Yeah.
Yes. AKA he has dementia. That's the other answer.
He got it wiping the oil off the windshields of his car.
Well, listen,
And
even if he does
if
have,
not for those oil slicks, his first wife would still be alive. God rest her soul.
yeah, even if he does have cancer, like he's got way bigger things to deal with, like COVID. I mean, come on now.
It is worse than cancer, I've been told. Yeah.
I was told he was going to cure cancer, is what I was told.
He said he was going to cure COVID too, but he just caught it instead.
I was told that this COVID might exacerbate and give you cancer. Is that possible?
The weirdest part about this is if you guys read the CNN article after they started running the cover for Joe Biden, they actually said in the CNN article, it's okay. The White House prepared for this. We knew it was an eventuality that Joe Biden would get COVID. And I'm reading this going, you mean the same guy that said if you get the vaccine, you will not get COVID, that it will stop transmission? Rachel Maddow went out there and said it'll end in each person who has COVID. If they get the shot, it will not spread.
I think
and it was an eventuality.
They already laid plastic down. That's what they're referring to. They already have everything covered in plastic. So they're saying it's already been prepared. We can wipe it all down already. It's Joe Biden.
Well, it was funny because we were led into some information that we probably already knew or had inferred, was that they have to check and make sure he eats his meals all the time. They're like, hey, he showed me his plate and he ate everything on it. I was like, isn't that Jill's job to make sure that he eats everything off the plate?
This is the most embarrassing video I've ever seen of them. Like everybody infantilizes this doddering old fool, but this has to be the worst one. I just got to play this.
The president was a good boy.
You know what? I don't think I turned my audio on.
The president has been a good boy today. He's getting a good report card.
Let me redo this real quick.
He was very kind. He shared all of his toys.
He shared his toys. He didn't stiff anybody today.
He did push down a girl.
He slept well last night. He ate his breakfast and lunch. He actually showed me his plate. Didn't ask about the menu, but I did see an empty plate with crumbs, and I have some guesses about.
Yeah. So this is he gonna? I wonder if he's gonna pull out his wallet next and have just a bunch of pictures of Joe Biden in diapers, just like roll out, like, oh, my son did so good today. He ate all his food.
Did he make
ate all
sure
his
the
chicken
dog didn't come by and
nuggies.
eat it?
Say what, Frank?
Here's an echo.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, I think PJ has to drop.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we're good.
Sorry.
PJ's no longer ever allowed to open the show ever again.
I guess not. Yeah. No, I don't know. It's not a podcast if you don't have technical issues almost the entire time. Like if you don't spend 10 hours fixing audio and video issues for each podcast episode you put out, then you're not a podcaster.
I think everybody's taking their turn down in the left-hand corner down there. Everybody's kind of rotating.
I think Susan Wojcicki found us and she's upset and she's totally screwing with us.
But she can only throttle us one person at a time. That's why.
Yeah.
It's like playing whack-a-mole.
She's picking us off like Rambo in a cave.
Oh, goodness.
True first blood.
So we have Kamala hanging into the wings with all of this that's kind of going on. And did you see the video they released or the picture they released? It looked like he was like a 1980s hostage in Iran or something with the video quality that they showed. It was like some weird filter that they used. It looked like it was an old VHS tape.
Yeah, even if you're running a Zoom call with a $20 Walmart webcam, I feel like you'd get better video quality than that video.
He had like 1/10 of a megapixel, and he looked like worse than Osama in the caves, which is what I'd said of that on Twitter. I said, I think he looks worse than Osama did in those videos from the caves.
Yeah,
Well, I think we'll see about as much of Joe Biden as we did Osama when he was hiding in the caves.
Which is to say there will be a body double. Hey.
Hey. There's got to be one already. Like,
here it is.
Do you guys, does anybody think that presidents don't actually have body doubles?
No, Hillary Clinton for sure does. And she's not a president and never will be.
Right.
So here's the video. Dude, what is this?
That's actually the first look at Disney's animatronic for the President's Hall. I think it's the Hall of Presidents. That's what
the Hall of
put in for Biden.
I was seriously waiting for like a ISIS member to come up and hand him a script to read.
I'll tell you this, his hairline looks odd and it's super soft. Like I wonder, I'm not the video editing guy, but I wonder like how many different filters and layers this has been through before C-SPAN gets it. Because you're right, like everything's fuzzy. There's no hard definition on any of the lines. And they've been prepping us for deep fakes for a while. I'd be curious to know if Biden died because of national security, when would they announce it? Would they first have to secure Kamala and then make sure that she's sworn in and then do all this, and then like after a weekend or something, tell people? Like I genuinely would like to know what their plan would be.
They would do like a news dump on like a Friday, and so nobody would like be paying attention.
Yeah.
No, they'd all celebrate.
That literally does not look like a human being. That looks like a Joe Biden suit that you like put on to pretend to be Joe Biden.
It does. Yeah, it does not look like him.
That's what I'm saying. Play. If anyone here thinks that there's doubles, you can follow my channel. We talk about that stuff.
Yeah, here's what he had to say.
In a month, over a coming month, and that would be real savings. Looking forward, we expect gas prices to decline further. However, as you noted, they are still too high. Refiner margins remain roughly double what is typical for this time of year, though they have declined from their record highs.
Like I know Joe Biden has a 5 head, but that looks like a 6 or a 7 head right now.
Yeah, and there's some distortion and there's some compression. You can tell that this is filming another screen. But even still, I mean, it's a slowed down video, maybe, or he's just really struggling.
He's got a cost drop that he's trying to unwrap.
If industry passes along cost savings to consumers, this would bring the national average retail price.
He should be in a home with a rug wrapped around his legs. I mean, I'd put a rug around his whole body, but hey.
That was bad. That was terrible.
Yeah.
Well, Kamala's already prepping the rug to wrap him in the next couple of weeks.
At least give his legs a blanket.
Yeah, listen, he may be a dementia patient with cancer, but at least he doesn't send mean tweets. That's the important thing.
That is the important thing. Yes.
I mean, it depends on the kids that he's droning. If he's like, our mission was a success, and you're like, I don't know, there were 9 kids murdered, then like maybe those tweets aren't nice, even if they're kind.
Well, no, polite. Drew means he literally just doesn't send tweets.
Oh,
like,
no, Biden
nobody actually thinks that he's in charge of his Twitter account.
Fair enough.
I don't think Joe Biden's ever tweeted a thing ever in his life.
I have an idea. Curb Stomp says he should be in jail with his son. I think we combine a couple stories here. Why don't we put Hunter put Hunter in a cell with Joe, and then we'll just not feed them, and nature will take its course. Hunter will, of course, have to feast on his father.
I think we throw a pool.
The meme has come to life.
Yeah, we throw a pool stick in and tell them there's tryouts.
There's the meme. It's come to life. Kamala Harris with Biden with the rug on his thing off the cliff.
Here's the thing. If Biden, because somebody asked, you don't think Biden actually writes his own tweets? If Biden wrote his own tweets, Covfefe would be mild in comparison to trying to spell true international with depression. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he doesn't know what the tweets would mean. If he read them aloud and then you asked him to explain it, he wouldn't know what he had just said, let alone how to explain those things. So, of course, he's not tweeting it.
Right. Yeah, I got to say, whoever is actually in charge of his Twitter account is incredibly stupid, though. So it sells it a little bit. I
think it's just Corinne Jean-Pierre, isn't it? She tweets like it. They all tweet
I don't know.
like it's just her.
I think it's that tranny with the long nails.
The who with the what?
The TikToker?
The TikToker, yeah.
Oh, the cue ball? That
no,
one?
Not the puppy rape apologist. The
no, he didn't apologize.
No, sorry. The puppy rape and child trafficking apologist, Sam Brinton.
Well,
but but the TikToker, what can't I think of? The guy who wears like the Two-Face suit.
He's the one that
like
was
the
like
white
way over the top dramatic.
Yeah, he did that video with Jen Psaki, and it was
which honestly, okay, just objective point here. The video, if you don't want to look at it as being political, like the video was well done. It was at least well done. If you were just looking at it objectively, you're like, okay, someone edited this well. They at least know how to be funny with each other. I don't like either of them. I think it's all weird and gay, but Jen Psaki at least knew how to sell playing herself as a caricature.
Yeah.
I think she did a decent job compared to her replacement.
Well, that's the smart part about it, because there are a bunch of older people. Like, I don't really get it, but they do videos like that because it appeals to young people and kids who are like 12, and that's why you have a very effeminate guy with long nails talking to Jen Psaki about makeup and shit.
That and like 50-year-old women who watch Sex in the City and want to feel young and hip and cool, they know that kids like that, so they'll cling on to it too. We all have that aunt.
Oh yeah. No, but they are good. It's weird because they got so mad. They called Trump a reality star president, but the first reality star president was Obama. I mean, before TikTok, Obama was doing these short little weird videos of him and Joe, and like they've always been good at this type
bracelets.
of stuff. Yeah.
Best friends forever.
I gotta say, and even as much as I didn't like either one of them, they had some that were actually decently funny. There was the one, I think, where it was the thanks Obama meme, right? It was just like everything that went wrong, every little thing, like Joe Biden couldn't dunk a cookie because it was too big for the glass. He's like, oh, thanks Obama, like stuff like that. Like, it was funny. Like they actually have a good team built around them to appeal to the younger audience. But
well, they got the whole, entertainment industry behind,
right.
One wing of politics. So, I would hope they were able to produce something that would be funny or well done or well scripted or well cut together.
Well, funny's a thing of the past, though, because what Tom was talking about is it was well produced, but you can't be like the left can't be funny anymore because they don't live in reality, and jokes require reality. So I don't think I just thought it was very funny is the thing they're going to do anymore, but.
You've seen the show like 30 Rock, like it's supposed to be a caricature and everything is over the top, like dramatization of what it really would be. And so that was how they shot it, I felt, because it was obtuse and over the top and silly. And that is appealing. Like, just to be silly is appealing, to laugh and have fun. I was thinking about this the other day, and you guys can tell me what you think. The phrase of it's not about winning or losing if you're having fun. Right? Or if it's about having fun. I don't necessarily believe that in all situations, but politically, if people who are undecided are looking at two sides and they genuinely don't know which one they would rather be a part of, and listening to either side make some good points, they could see themselves either way. You'd rather go with the side that's having a fun time and making jokes and laughing, and it seems like a party versus the one that seems like homework. And the left right now is issuing homework. So we need to be the fun, party side, even if that means having some fun and making light of situations that would otherwise be more serious.
Well, back in 2004, there was a survey that was held, who would you rather have a beer with, George W. Bush or John Kerry? And people would much rather have a beer with George W. Bush than they would John Kerry. And he was seen to be a little bit more popular with the everyday American in the country versus John Kerry, who, obviously is an elitist cock, just like George W. Bush is, but he just seemed to be a little bit more relatable.
Well, George Bush just had that, Texas accent and that kind of like, yeah, I make some gaffes, but I'm a human being, where John Kerry is just a robot. So,
George Bush had 2 DUIs. So when the question is, who would you rather have a beer with? It was almost a fill in the blank, and it was already done for you.
Pretty much, yeah. Someone in chat said, in what universe is this stuff cool? I'm not even saying it's cool. I'm saying that the younger generation, the Gen Z, are going to look at stuff like they're on TikTok all the time. They see all of the trendy trannies, right? Like, that is what TikTok is. It's just a platform of trendy trannies. So they're playing into that younger base. Whether it's good or not, it's not good entertainment. It's not interesting to someone who hasn't been steeped in that culture, but that's what they're steeped in, right? So
yeah,
it's sad to see it, Timothy, but that is what it is.
Yeah,
that just is what it is.
Why do you think they're so successful at doing that?
Who's successful?
The younger people through social media.
Because they try.
Algorithm.
Because they try?
Yeah, they try. Like, I don't think there's really any conservative movements to do that. I mean, conservatives skew older. I mean, that's just part of experience. But yeah, I think Democrats, I think that they know, hey, the younger people are more likely to vote for us. Let's get them on our side. And
I
think
would
that's
I would
always good.
disagree a little bit though, because I feel like as far as political commentating and stuff like that goes, right? You've got people like Steven Crowder, you've got people like Elijah Schaffer who are fun, who are do actual comedy type stuff. You've got Dave Landau. You've got a lot of actual comedians. And on the left, I don't know if you've listened to any left wing commentating podcasts. They are boring as hell. They're all NPR. So, but like when you're talking about TikTok, it's a totally different story because you're right. There are more of the fun, young type stuff there. But I think it also just has to do with the fact that it's a China-run company that wants to destroy America. Like if you want to really deep dive into what's going on TikTok, and they've just convinced people that being around these trannies makes you a good person, makes you a accepting and nice and fun, even if they're not funny, even if it's just like kind of cringe. Like that is what makes you nice and cool and acceptable in these circles. And that's what's pushed on them every single day.
Yeah, I would answer that it's not that the children are more willing to look at the left than the right. I think it's that what with social institutions being dominated by the left since the 60s, that has created generations of kids who are more liberal until they see real world experience and become more awake to the fact that, hey, this really isn't real world. And then they become more conservative, like someone kind of realizing they're in a cave and walking out. But I don't think that that's the setting or the default. Like, I don't think that kids are born just inherently going to be more liberal. I think that when you see, liberal parents raising kids, those kids sometimes turn out to be conservative before they're ever 18 because they see their parents doing weird wonky shit. Not all the time, but it can happen. And I just think that if you instead approach it from the perspective of what are the kids being shown, what are the algorithms putting in front of the kids, and what are the kids being rewarded for? In China, their algorithm shows the kids doing in really intelligent engineering problems, math problems, doing scaling work, building things, because the algorithm wants those Chinese kids to do really well. That's not a racist. It's a 100% an example of what they do on their social media for their kids. It's all educational. And ours, like you said, China wants us to be stupid and dance in no clothing. So they're literally making the girls do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also just if we're talking about why kids grew up to be liberal, I don't think it's the natural thing. But they're raised for 13 years by the public school system, and they're going to have teachers who push all of this stuff on them. And now you have critical race theory, you have all of this transgender stuff, you have, books about graphic sex acts in elementary schools. And so, I don't think it's any wonder why they come out believing in all this nonsense, and they go to university and they get even more stuff pushed on them by Marxist professors.
Well, yeah, you're right. They're being indoctrinated from a very young age by Hollywood, by the schools especially. And then you've got stuff like TikTok, which Tom is entirely right. It's Chinese owned. They're pushing it. They're pushing bad takes on the left and the right, though. I think that's something people don't realize is if you look at TikTok today, because I used to do a lot of TikTok stuff. I actually grew on there pretty fast for a while until for the last year and a half, I've not been able to get 5 people to be able to even see stuff. People can look me up on TikTok. I will not come up if you type in my exact handle. So they're allowing the worst people on the right and the worst people on the left to stay on that platform because it totally dumbs down our nation. It's a mind warfare from China. And the fact that Trump wanted to get rid of TikTok and people were mad at him for it, he was right on that entirely. At least to regulate it to the point where it couldn't be what it is, which is just a tool to make American children stupider. But the one hopeful thing I will say is that we are seeing this trend of younger Gen Z becoming conservative much earlier in life. It's like the old adage is that when you're young, you should be liberal because it shows you have a heart, and then when you're older, you should be conservative because it shows you have a brain. But that's not true anymore because look who's punching back. Look who's actually making the good content. Get outside of TikTok. If you look at who's making the actual, meme culture of America today, the only good meme culture is on the right, or even in libertarian circles, but it's definitely not on the left.
Yeah, it's funny. You almost never see a meme coming from a subreddit.
No, not a good one. You see a lot of terrible memes. There's a whole Twitter profile about this called The Left Can't Meme, and their memes are terrible.
Well, no, like you look at it 20 years ago, I think it was different. Like I'm a big fan of Opie and Anthony. I don't know if you guys know Opie and Anthony, but
Yeah.
they were kind of like a shock jock show, and they got taken off. And back then they were, people on the right wing didn't like them because, they talked bad about Jesus and stuff. Now it's completely the opposite to where, you look at all of these comedians. Dave Chappelle, he's not a right winger. The left absolutely hates him. Ricky Gervais, he's definitely not a right winger. The left absolutely hates him just because they have the wrong views on identity politics. And you are going to see this cultural shift to where, people like me, I think of gamers and Gamergate. Most of these gamers are like Bernie bros, but now they're all labeled right wing. And you are going to see this shift. Someone mentioned it earlier in the show to where the pendulum swings the other way.
Oh, someone mentioned it. Yeah, don't name any names out here.
I don't want to name any
Yeah,
names,
don't wanna
but
give
someone
any.
mentioned
All
it.
right, whatever.
No, I think you're entirely right on that. There's definitely a swing back. I mean, being punk rock today is being a family of 5, like having kids and raising a normal family in your 20s. Like that's punk rock today, And these kids are pushing back against their insane leftist parents and their insane leftist indoctrinating teachers. And that necessarily is going to lead them to becoming more right-wing or conservative. Not even conservative, but just anti-left-wing, anti-establishment, which is the left wing.
Yeah, they're
a lot earlier.
decentralization focused. They're anti-establishment. They're anti-big government, and they're anti-authority in the sense that if someone wants to tell you what to do for the sake of getting to control the outcome, like if you're telling me to do something because it's going to have a good benefit, and you don't really care if I do it, it's good advice, then I'll take it seriously. If it's you just telling me to do something because you want me to do it, whether it even affects you or not, then I'm almost more, obstinate not to do that thing. And I think that's really what we're seeing in that divide of people realizing I don't want to be told what to do, because even though I might agree with it today, eventually it's going to be something I don't agree with. And that's kind of where you're seeing this maybe coalescence of 20 years ago, you had some on the left and some on the right who now are in one camp. And then you have that centralization group, the establishment group in the middle, kind of weird, coagulating to, center around the state.
Well, look at right-wing Christian culture in the 1990s, right? It was cringe. It was super cringe because the message came before the art. And I actually broke this down in Wartime Propaganda this week, that if you're looking at modern-day movies and modern-day music, I mean, listen to Pink's new song. It sounds like a 1990s Christian rock station,
Dude,
like song.
What are you doing? You're breaking the rules. You're not allowed to listen to Pink's music because you are not pro-abortion.
That's right. I'm not allowed to.
She told you.
But I'm a rule breaker. I'm a rebel, Dottie. But I mean, seriously, you look at movies and all the left-wing movies are putting the message before the art, and you're starting to see all of the right-wing stuff become a lot funnier because there's people out there who want to make entertainment and have a certain value set, and they realize that that's the order you need to make good entertainment. Is you need to be like, look, the entertainment comes first, and it's necessarily going to be influenced by my values because that's who I am. And the left has completely lost it, where everything's become propaganda. And it's just, this is the message, and then here's some crummy pop music to go along with it. Here's the message, and here's some crummy TikTok dance to go along with it. And it's all cringe, and it's all terrible. And that's why nobody wants to go to the movies anymore. The only movie that did good this year was Top Gun.
Yeah.
Because it was basically just pro-America entertainment first. That's all it was, and that's all people want. They're so sick of, hey, let's make a movie about a toy that was in another movie, and we'll just make this reductive nonsense, and then add a lesbian kiss into it and promote that instead of get rid of Tim Allen, which is why people like Buzz Lightyear in the first place. Like, let's do that, and let's sell our message instead of actually making an entertaining children's film. Nobody went and saw it. Everybody went to see Top Gun.
I didn't even go to see that.
I didn't either, but it did well.
Yeah, so people don't want that type of entertainment any longer, and they're seeking something that has something that of value that reinforces some of those traditional things that we've gotten away from.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say really quick to people in chat, because we were going to promote this more and keep forgetting. If you guys want to send in any super chats during the show, we'll take the last 5 or 10 minutes of the show and answer every super chat. So just want to put that out there for you guys watching. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, share it, because I'm having a lot of fun with the show. I hope you guys are too. And I've noticed more and more people coming over and checking out the Last American Pubcast. So thank you guys who have shared it this week, and appreciate you guys a lot. So
Yeah. Additionally, while we're throwing things in there, don't mind if you share the link. Now we've got another hour of show left. So still, if you want to, consider sharing the link on a social media post. Say, hey, this is what I'm doing tonight. Check this out. That would help us get some new eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, absolutely. Yeah, please continue to do that. It's fantastic. You can share it over on Facebook, on Twitter, over on your favorite social media. Maybe it's Telegram or Gab or anything like that. Just get it out there and get some more eyeballs on it, because we are having a ton of fun with this show, and we hope to continue to bring you guys guests. We have a couple that are lined up for next week already, and we're excited to we'll maybe start announcing that on the community page for the channel, so that way you guys get a little bit of a sneak peek of who will be coming up next on our Pubcast here. And I have this article pulled up here, guys, talking about Pennsylvania. It's a huge win for Pennsylvania. I think even the voters prohibits the Zuck Bucks ahead of the 2022 midterms. And I would like to also point out that the Southern Poverty Law Center has determined that Zuck Bucks is anti-Semitic, by the way, as well.
Wait, the term? Like you can't
The
say
term
the term
Zuck-
Zuckbucks?
Yes, Zuck Buck is anti-Semitic apparently
Oh
now,
my
because
God. I got to call my lawyer.
it makes reference to, that's how you see those greedy Jews, as they would say. On
Oh
the
my
thing.
God.
Yeah.
Zuck Bucks is Jew money, apparently. Yeah.
Apparently, I had no
Jeez,
idea.
You guys, I didn't know you were so anti-Semitic. I mean, they did kill the Lord and Savior, so.
So here we have Pennsylvania prohibits Zuck Bucks ahead of the 2022 midterms. Pennsylvania has banned public officials from receiving and using private election grants, including those from nonprofits, in a bid to boost election integrity by reducing outside influence.
It's so funny to me that we spent all of 2016 through 2020 talking about how social media is how Donald Trump stole the election, right? Like that was the idea, is that social media, because there was like $20,000 worth of fake Facebook ads that were for Hillary and for Trump pretty equally. That literally stole an election, but them taking the president of the United States off of Twitter, them kicking every right-wing media personality off of Twitter, and then allowing Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook, to pour money into the election had nothing to do with election integrity at all.
Nothing at all.
Looking
Nothing
back
at
on
all.
all of this, historically, this is going to look like a moonshot. Like we're going to see all of their different little things that they teed up in order to make this happen. So this was, looking back on it, I know it's easy to say hindsight is 2020, but looking at the mail-in ballot laws that were changed in the states that they were changed in for the reasons that they were changed, and now seeing the result and seeing how it is hard to undo it once the ballot goes in the box. Ooh, no signature. Ooh, sorry. Seeing all of that and knowing you can't do it again in these different states, it's going to be interesting to see how they go forward. It's like, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice. You're going to not just see Gitmo, but you're going to probably see nothing very soon.
Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. So it looks like some states are taking action. It's in the article, it goes on to say there's 20 other states that have also banned Zuck Bucks from their state elections, which is a good thing. I think it should be all 50 states, but there are certain states that aren't going to do that. And we continue to go down this road of allowing, corporations to kind of influence, elections and things like that. How do we prevent that in the future? Is there something that we want Congress to do, or do we want to keep Congress out of it? Because it seems like every time they get involved with one of these things, it just makes it worse.
Yeah, that's been the thing since, the beginning. They've always had control in elections. Like there's this idea of regulatory capture, which has been a thing for 100 years, that, you have these regulatory industries designed to regulate certain industries, and those always end up controlled by the people they're supposed to be regulating. If there is a problem where the government's too powerful, and so corporations are incentivized to try to take a hand in it, I think the obvious solution is make the government less powerful to where they don't have that effect.
So you're saying we should cripple the government?
Yes, precisely.
You sound like one of
And how
those
would you go about this,
soccer
Drew?
mom terrorists now.
And how would you go about that? Well, that's just the thing. And this is how you know that you're over the target, because they call you a domestic terrorist if you mention these things. If you push back on the pedophilia in schools, if you push back on the grooming, if you push back on the trans kids in the locker rooms or the bathrooms, if you're a parent and you say, I don't want to have the porn in the school, you get called a domestic terrorist. So just apply that here. I think it makes just as much sense.
Yeah, they can call you a domestic terrorist, but you can't call them a groomer. That's too far.
And you can't call them out for the crimes they've committed, but they will call you a criminal. Doug Mastriano in Pennsylvania, the state that we're just now talking about banning Zuck bucks in the future. He's been on the record saying, if I'm elected, we're undoing all of these laws. We're going to get rid of every single one of these. I did a video talking about Act 77. I think it was Act 77 in Pennsylvania that allows for all the mail-in ballots to be universal, no reason, no excuse, mail in if you want, no signature. And so he said, if we can win, we're undoing this. And so kind of going back to a few points that PJ had made, kind of going mutually assured destruction, or at least tit for tat. Mm-hmm. If the Democrats are going to steal elections once we get back in office with Doug Mastriano in Pennsylvania, they should be making damn sure that there is never an election in Pennsylvania, in the Keystone State, in that Commonwealth, ever stolen again. And if that means you go digital, blockchain, if that's paper and ink and thumbprints, that's what it needs to be. But that's what he's committed to. So that's who I'd be backing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the problem that everybody's having right now, though, is that we're looking at all of the, as Time Magazine called it, fortifying the elections of 2020. And there just doesn't seem to have been quite enough. Like 20 states are trying to ban Zuck bucks. That's a good start. There's places like Wisconsin that are trying, and we could get to that story next, I guess, to ban things like the drop boxes. But there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been changed. And
I heard there was a pushback on that from like one of the commission councils or whatever that say they're not going to obey the Supreme Court ruling in Wisconsin.
Right, and it's okay if the left doesn't obey Supreme Court rulings. But yeah.
Well, it's not gonna be. And we ought to, I mean, I know you're saying that being sarcastic.
I am being sarcastic. Yeah.
We ought to be a little bit more adamant, not you, but like as a group, the conservatives or just America First or people who are not insane on the left shouldn't just say, oh, well, they're the left, they get away with it. Because that's what all of this is about. They want you to be trained into that position. They want you to feel like you're always stuck. They can always do whatever you want. They can always get away with it. And if we constantly say, oh, Hillary Clinton will never go to prison, then you're right. She won't.
Right. Well, what you said right there was true too. You started to say conservative, then you said other people like America First and stuff like that. This is a position that's not a conservative. Well, no, I'm just saying like election integrity in this way is not a conservative position. It's actually a majority position, I think, because all of the crazy stuff you're hearing, like we could never require IDs because that's racist. Black people couldn't get IDs. Nobody honestly thinks that the majority of Americans believe that nonsense. It's a hardcore left position. So all of these things, the drop boxes, we don't need signatures, we can let illegals vote, we shouldn't require IDs. It's not popular among anybody, and that's why we have to start more loudly, making a case for, if you didn't like 2020, you have to actually go out and make sure that these things are not in place in 2022 and in 2024. And this is another thing I've said before, like they wouldn't need 2,000 mules. They wouldn't need drop boxes. They wouldn't need to bus in millions of illegal aliens if they could flip a switch. So my point is we can still win elections. We just have to go out there in massive numbers. You can't sit at home. If you want to get people like Doug Mastriano in and actually change his election integrity laws, you have to go out in overwhelming force these midterms and in 2024 as well.
And this is also why, I harp on it a lot on this channel, on my main channel, is talking about local elections matter. Local elections matter because that's where a lot of the real work is done. And are you vetting your supervisor elections? Are you vetting your city councils? Are you vetting your sheriff? Are you vetting these people that go up at elections in your local elections? Because it's so true. These people control so much of your aspects of your everyday life and how the things operate. I know we like to look at the federal stuff because it's sexy looking, but the real work is done at local levels.
Well, that's how you change the election integrity laws too. It's at the local levels, and local elections are much more winnable because most people don't pay attention. That's why we, as people who are conservative people watching this channel, people who are interested in politics, you got to pay attention to the local stuff because other people won't, and that's how we're going to change, starting here, and then get those changes that are going to go up, from the people up.
Yeah, and also just add a caveat to that: it's not hard. For anyone that hears this in the future or is hearing this now and has never been politically involved, we're not asking you to do a lot. Simply being aware, simply knowing who the people are running in the area, asking what they stand for, looking at their websites, looking at the people that support them and kind of asking why, seeing all of that and just being aware helps you not support the person who could otherwise be AstroTurf. They want to replace the grassroots movements of the U.S. with fake AstroTurf candidates. You don't want to fall into that on the left, right, or the center. And you can mark my words, there's going to be more people in 2024 than ever running as good conservatives who absolutely will not be. And you saw some of those messages come out from a lefty strategist on the East Coast, I think it was.
Yeah,
she had
Crystal
emails coming out
Matthews.
saying Crystal Meth. I'm sorry.
That is her name. Yes, it's Crystal Matthews. Yeah, Crystal Math.
So she had said, we really ought to have more plants. We need to get more plants in the GOP, which means there are some, and we know who some of them are because they've kind of made themselves known. But, we have to be just as wary about that as we should be about the enemy. Because, the first thing that's going to cripple us is the weak guy on our team.
100%. I mean, yeah, 2020 definitely exposed a lot of these people. They had to come out and either say that everything was fine. You didn't see them pulling ballots out from underneath the tables in Georgia. You didn't see them boarding up the windows in Detroit. You didn't see 138,000 vote flips at 4 a.m. after they said they were done counting. You didn't see any of that. And when you saw the Republicans saying that, you knew who they were. They exposed themselves. And then the January 6th committee stuff, they exposed themselves even more. If Liz Cheney gets reelected, then that's a sad day for America.
I don't see that happening with her. She's currently down like 30 points in polling. And every poll you look at Wyoming, where she's so desperate, she's reaching out to Democrats and asking them to change their party affiliation to vote in a Republican primary.
Yeah.
And Wyoming already doesn't have a whole lot of Democrats to begin with anyway. So that's how much she's struggling. That's a page that Susan Murkowski has taken out of the playbook and is now looking for Democrats to help her win her primary bid out in Alaska.
Frank, I'm proud of you on that one.
You're welcome. Yeah, no problem. I'm sure many of viewers that watch it will say Frank did a good job pronouncing that name.
They just all gave a fist pump on the couch. They even spilled some popcorn. They were that excited.
They spilled their drink.
Families across this country.
Notorious.
Look, the truth is just vote for people with names I can pronounce, because I'm so sick of getting on here and having a story and I'm like, I have no freaking clue. I'm the worst at pronouncing hard names.
I doubt it. I doubt it. I'm way worse than you are.
If you don't know who to vote for, go for the person with a pronounceable name, so at least I don't have to read something totally insane.
Peter Meyer is the easiest name, right? It should be easy if you know Meyer, but it spells oddly, right? Because it's Meijer. And so even Trump said when he was trying to get him elected, the little bastard who ended up voting for impeachment, he goes, Peter Meyer, that's a hard name to pronounce. So if Trump can't get it and he calls him Meyer or whatever it is, Meyer.
He would do great in Michigan, but anywhere else, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anyways, P.S. Get rid of Peter Meyer for anyone listening.
Yeah.
By voting for John Gibbs. Just want to make sure that's clear.
And speaking of getting rid of, you don't want to do what the New York people are doing, where they're sending their foot soldiers to take out governor candidates from actually being able to run by charging the stage and trying to stab them.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know who saw this story about Lee Zeppelin. I kept reading it as Led Zeppelin. Again, weird names, people. Lee Zeldin. See, I screwed it up again. This is why you vote for, I guess, I'm not saying not to vote for him because it was a weird name, but
I heard the guy that wrote Freebird almost got stabbed today.
Yeah, so weird. So this story, Lee Zeldin's would-be assassin was arrested and released without bail. Obviously, this happens in New York, so Kathy Hochul and the whole soft on crime thing that wants to lock up Bogota people, Bogota owners defending themselves, but not real criminals. It's crazy. It just goes to show, like, again, the political violence, the will to actually do something about your political enemies is all on the left. And I'm not saying that we should copy certain things like the violence stuff, but it's going to continue to escalate until we start to push back a little bit.
They tried to downplay saying that was a little plastic thing, but it was an actual metal keychain or whatever. It's an actual type of weapon that you would use. And
it looks to me like one of those knuckle things with the points on them.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Well, forget that whether it's plastic, whether it could have done it, whether it, he could nick a vein with anything,
right?
And you're good to go. Dead.
I mean, it's assault even if it's with a plastic spoon. It's still assault.
So we had a justice at the Supreme Court almost get assassinated, and now we almost had a governor candidate almost assassinated, and the left, or obviously the media, which is the left in most cases, completely ignores the entire story. I guarantee you the majority of Americans who tune into their nightly newscast on ABC, NBC, CBS has no idea this even took place.
We heard more
Did you watch
about
the
a
video
fake.
of this?
Sorry, go ahead.
Like, did you slow it down? Did you watch this video? Like, have you seen it through a few times?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
I've only seen it once.
This dude, so you can tell by his cap, he's a veteran. This guy, he hesitates. He gets on the stage and he hesitates. Like he has time to go after. I mean, I'm not trying to critique the guy and give him pointers, but he hesitates. And if you watch the crime TV shows, they say the first attack from a killer who's a series of serial killer, I guess you'd call him, or a spree killer. The first one maybe they hesitate on, and then the next one they can see that there's more and more of a know-how. So I think with the pattern, like you said, Frank, with Kavanaugh being attacked, the guy kind of coming to his senses, going, I just was having these thoughts. I texted my sister and said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm armed and I'm here. And she said, oh my God, call the police. This isn't like you. And then now you got this guy kind of hesitant, not really committed fully to it. I think they're driving people to commit violence, but these people don't want to do that. They just want this insanity to be over.
Well, that's the unfortunate thing. I think we're in a cold civil war in this country. And once blood is shed, it's going to become easier and easier for blood to be shed.
Well, Hoechlin or whatever her name is, released his where he was going to be that day and sent it out to her supporters.
Right.
And I know that they already released, he releases a schedule where he's going to be as well. But, most of her supporters aren't looking for Lee Zeldin's, terror, what he's going to be. But Chief puts it out there and calls him a right-wing extremist or a white supremacist or whatever buzzword term they're using, and gets them all fired up. And they think they're attacking Nazis on stage.
Who will rid me of this meddlesome priest? That's what it goes back to, if you guys are familiar with that. It's not, I'm not saying to attack this guy. I'm just saying he's a terrible right-wing extremist, and this is where he's going to be. And I'm not saying what to do, but wouldn't it be great if someone could rid me of this meddlesome priest? That's what this is.
Yeah, it's like those prayers I was saying about that George Floyd mural. Mm-hmm. Whatever happened to that thing?
The one that got struck by lightning? That one?
Did it now? Prayers answered.
And so would that be a federal charge, though, with him attacking a sitting U.S. congressman, or no?
Shouldn't
because
it be?
He's out on bail.
Well, the state let him go, and the FBI came and scooped him.
Oh, did they end up scooping him up already?
That's the update, right? The FBI has already come out. So he was released by the state, and the FBI was like, no, you don't. And you want to know what? I said it as a joke, but now I'm not thinking it's that funny. Maybe they're going, why didn't he use the gun we bought him? We got him a gun. We told him what to do, and then he hesitated. And that's why I think he was kind of like, he didn't go for whatever he was supposed to have on him. He just grabs this little keychain thing. That doesn't make any sense.
It's because he saw a 22-year-old Hoosier 40 meters away. That's what happened.
The View was upset that dude stopped the shooter in the mall.
That's my point, right? Like this guy in the mall, he's 40 yards away, and he shoots the guy 8 out of 10 shots at 40 yards with a Glock pistol. And then you see the left's response has been insane. They're all mad about this. So the FBI lost one of their best.
I saw the meme, when the FBI, face when their guy they groomed for 2 years to go on a shooting spree ended by somebody with that's constitutional carrying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the FBI Expendables edition, and it's all just the shooters from the last 18 months.
Oh, goodness.
The best part of the entire story, though, is that
around just seeing ghosts in the negotiation room.
The greatest part of that story is that it happened in a gun-free zone, and that's what I love more than anything about that story.
There was a meme that had the Vince McMahon meme,
I shared that the other day.
Did you share it? Here,
I'll see if I can pull it up.
Yeah,
real quick
pull it up because it was a spot-on meme.
Drew, are you muted, buddy? I feel like you haven't said something in a while.
I'm not muted. I'm just enjoying the conversation like everyone in the chat.
You can jump in
make sure
anytime.
You're included and feel welcome.
Yes. Sometimes we got some big voices on here that want to, there it is.
So here's the meme. It's Vince McMahon. It says, when you hear a 22-year-old eliminated an active shooter by firing 10 shots and striking the bad guy 8 times while carrying a firearm under the new Indiana constitutional carry law in a gun-free zone. Best meme. I love it. Yeah.
This is awesome.
Drew, what's your thoughts on constitutional carry?
Yeah, I think constitutional carry should be a thing in every single state. I think fully automatic weapons should be legal. Everything should be.
Yes.
100%. It's in the. It should be a given because it's in the name, constitutional.
Yeah. That Second Amendment literally says shall not be infringed, but I guess, that wasn't clear enough.
It's weird to me, though. Sorry, go ahead,
They're not infringing on it. They're restricting it. They're tying it down. They're watering it down and diluting it, but they're not infringing on it per se.
Right. Yeah, you think shall not be infringed, then that's the only Bill of Rights amendment that has that wording in it. You think that would be strong enough for people to go, yeah, maybe paying a license to have a constitutional right doesn't make sense. And yet I still hear people on the right going, well, we should have to have classes and licensing and things like that. And it's like, shall not be infringed is pretty clear, I think.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to live in Missouri, and we constitutional carry state, nullifying all federal gun laws. We're pretty base when it comes to guns here.
Nice. Yeah, it drives me up the wall when I hear, your side that's supposed to be protecting your gun rights and our constitutional rights saying call the weapons sporting rifles and to go hunting and sport. No, they're used for to build a firewall against a overreaching government to make sure that people are prepared and are able to protect the Constitution if our government fails the Constitution in itself. So it just drives me insane when they skip on Congress. They did it just recently, debating this new gun bill where they want to outlaw certain aspects of guns or guns themselves.
It's annoying to me when conservatives are so weak they think they can appease the left and be like, well, it's not a weapon of war. It's not an AR-15 is not the same as an M4. And it's like, come on, like even if okay, on one sense you're kind of technically right. On the other hand, you're full of shit. Like, can we just admit that an AR-15 is the exact same thing as an M4, minus the fact that an M4, depending on what you're in the military, either has burst fire or fully automatic, and that people should be allowed to have those on their AR-15s? Like, can we just take the actual legitimate hard stance on the Second Amendment and stop being like, oh, well, it's different because it's only semi-automatic, so please let us keep them, please, daddy government. And it's so weak-kneed and full of crap. I hate it.
Yeah, we need to get back to the base argument every time someone pulls something like that up and just say the difference between the M4 or the AR-15 and anything else is irrelevant and frankly doesn't apply because we have a right, constitutionally protected, granted by God, to defend ourselves, and we can bear whatever arms we want. Right. That could be a rifle, a nuke. If we could afford a nuclear weapon, you should, in my opinion, be able to have a nuclear missile on a submarine if you're out there fishing next to Russia. Frankly, I think you should be able to. So it's kind of a silly example, but you want to go all the way to that extreme. Fauci and his cronies were playing with bioweapons. That's a weapon of mass destruction, of mass genocide. And they were bearing it. Now, you could say that they accidentally dropped it. If you had a couple incidents where a gun owner drops their service weapon or they drop their concealed carry and it kills someone, one person, you'd have a lot of different conversations about the right to people to bear, whatever, because it's an accident. Like it's not like, oh, well, he was insane. He intended to kill people. An accident with a gun always gets attention. And here we have an accident that killed millions, they say. So I think everyone should be able to have a gun or a weapon or whatever it is. I think I'm going on a rant here. I'll shut up.
Here, I want to highlight this and let you guys respond to this. Yeah, I'm going to put it up. Drew, here's this.
Okay, yeah, they weren't good guys with guns. They were lazy cops. Not lazy cops, scared cops. I don't know what they were, but yeah, they weren't good guys with guns. Good guys with guns are citizens who voluntarily choose to carry because they want to protect themselves and others.
The more I watch the Uvalde footage, the more I think that they were intentionally letting those kids be killed. I know nobody wants to say that, but
were they on the FBI payroll too?
It just seems like it. I'm sorry. Who stands around? You've got how many guys? Hundreds of guys with guns and ballistic shields, and they're afraid to go after one kid with a rifle. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I said that doesn't make sense. We were talking about how long it took, and that the news update had been, oh no, the police were there, and they waited for another 60 or so odd minutes before they took him out. And then you heard that night that it wasn't the police that took him out. It was another person who was an off-duty Border Patrol agent.
Right.
That all
who wasn't on the payroll. That's my point.
Someone got there and got the order, stand down, no one does anything. You let this become an event before we do anything about it.
I'm sorry, but that many red-blooded Texans with guns, I don't care if they're cops or whatever, you're telling me all of them were afraid? You've got a group of guys with guns and they're afraid of one kid with a gun? It doesn't make sense to me.
If they're telling you that Texas is becoming blue in any way, maybe this is the pussification of Texas. You have the lowest of the low becoming the newest cops. All of those new cops in Uvalde take the Uvalde placement. Who knows how long they'd all been there? I don't know all their backgrounds. The one guy who did try to get in, it was his wife who died. He had kids in the school. He did try to get in. They took his service weapon and I guess took him out of the, I don't know, there was something like 16. Yeah.
2 months before the shooting, they had active shooter training for this exact scenario. And the ROE or whatever you want to call it, rules of engagement, I don't know what they call it in the police, but this is not a hostage situation. When there is an active shooter in a school, this is a go in guns blazing situation because you're not going to negotiate with this person. They're just going to keep killing kids because that is the point, right? That is the psychology behind these people. So they want to get as many kills as possible. So the in the books, like it was, hey, we're not going to treat this like a hostage negotiation. You go in now. So the fact they didn't says a lot more to me than just cowardice. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too conspiratorial.
They ran it by the book, but it was the FBI playbook, and so it's just a different book than we were expecting.
Did we ever get down to the bottom of how he was able to purchase all those guns with having no job or anything like that? All the equipment and everything they went along with it?
What did they say it was this time?
I don't think they did. They never addressed it. Shocker.
Well, at first they said he worked at Wendy's and saved his money for a really long time, and then it turns out I don't think he even worked at Wendy's. I don't think he had a job at all.
No, he just went by Wendy on the weekends.
Yeah, he went by Wendy on the weekends. Yeah. No, it's crazy. It's always politically advantageous too. Like watch the amount of school shootings and public shootings that happen in an election year. And when they want to push this stuff, it's just like the climate change stuff. Like right now, it's July, and we've got weather whiners out there telling us, "Oh my gosh, it's July, it's hot. I never expected it to be hot in July. Oh my gosh!" So you've got a million media stories pushing out, "Oh, look how hot it is in Europe. This is absolutely climate change." And then you've got a CNN tech going out there and saying, "Yeah, we don't have a fear narrative in place, so we're gonna revert back to climate change." And it's the same thing with guns. They revert back to when it's convenient. And somehow when they want to revert back to the gun control scare, they have a bunch of shooters. And then as soon as a 22-year-old Hoosier shoots one and the gun narrative starts to fall apart, guess what they went back to? Climate change.
Well, they use that circular reasoning or argument that they like to use where they'll point out climate change. We're like, well, the weather is actually, you can't use weather to determine climate change. And then all of a sudden you come up where it's a really hot day. They're like, see, climate change. That's why it's so hot outside.
Yeah, because who would have ever expected to be hot in July? Yeah. It's insane. What's this world coming to?
Moreover, we know that there is technology that changes certain weather patterns, like controlling whether or not rain drops.
We talked about this on your show, on the Flip show.
The 2008 Beijing Olympics, the Chinese government used weather tech, HARP and DARPA technology to make sure it didn't rain. And that was over 12 years ago. I wouldn't be surprised if the government could either turn the temps up a couple degrees or turn the temps down a couple degrees based on whatever it is they wanted. Whether or not that's possible, you decide. But if that is a thing, then you maybe makes sense now why you're seeing these, wild heat waves and these drastic temperatures here and there all across the world. And they're telling you that it's, incomparable to any other year when it's not. And you just wonder
how. You need to go inside and lock down, Tom. You need to lock down.
It's the timing is interesting is all. I think that, more along those lines than not.
I made this prediction a year ago, and I still think I could be right. But do you think we'll ever get to the point where they try or attempt, and I think they're testing the waters of it right now, a climate lockdown?
Yes.
I do. I'm serious. I said as soon as the COVID lockdowns end, they are going to want to continue this strategy because it's part of Klaus Schwab's Great Reset strategy. They said it. Trudeau said it. They've all talked about it. That's where Build Back Better comes from. Why is it every world leader is using the phrase Build Back Better? That's a Klaus Schwab puppet, right?
Their white papers suggest that, they outright say it, that the human populations, and this is in Klaus Schwab's book, he says the Asian populations have been, I don't want to sound like I'm the one saying this. Klaus Schwab says it in his book. He says that the Asian population specifically have been determined, have been raised and bred over generations to be, subservient and obedient to the government. They accept big government. The rest of the West doesn't as much. And so the way to get us on board with constant lockdowns with government putting the foot on the gas and the brake anytime they want. Red light, green light, we move, we stop, we get killed if we, flinch. That only works if we first think it's a live or die health decision for ourselves. So they do this. Hey, COVID once, okay, maybe a monkeypox for those, okay. And they'll do that until we get used to this rhythm where we get complacent. We say, oh, what's the next lockdown going to be? And now we have these conversations where now when they do the climate lockdown, we all go, see, I told you we were right, instead of standing up and, doing what must be done.
Yeah, well, we tried. Well, there are certain aspects of it. I know it happened in Michigan and some other states where people were trying to rise up and go against the lockdowns that were taking place back in March of 2020. And what happened? What was their fate? A lot of them got locked up. A lot of them got arrested. And
they arrested a barber in Michigan.
That should have been a wake-up call for the rest of America, saying, hey, they're not allowed to do that, and take to the streets like they did for the BLM marches, which conveniently they changed all the science about that and said, oh, no, that's okay. It's okay to address racism in these massive marches, and COVID won't spread because of that. But don't you do that to protest against lockdowns.
Yeah, a woman named Marina in Holland, Michigan owned a really small pizzeria and salad bar. It was like a nice little deli. Come in, grab something fresh for lunch. Not a chain at all. I think it was a 20-year place that she had done this since coming over from Eastern Europe, escaping communism. She comes over, she makes this nice business for herself, and she has employees. She feeds some homeless in addition to the people in the community. She says, I'm not locking down, and I'm not doing the mask thing and the whatever else. You do whatever you'd like, but I'm going to have my business as usual. They arrested her, and they chained her building up, and the lieutenant governor of Michigan made sure that the AG pressed as hard a charges as possible, and they tweeted back and forth about it. I mean, it's been sickening for over 2 years in this state, so we're fed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about the two-tier justice system, and I mean, that's part of it. You look at these cities like New York, and they're enforcing, gun laws and things against law-abiding citizens so that they can't defend themselves. While actual violent criminals, what are they doing? They're just wandering around the streets, shooting each other, stabbing each other. Nothing happens. They get released back. Then they can go rush politicians and hesitate.
Well, I want to correct you. It's not just stabbing each other. It's killing innocent people too. And that's, it'd be one thing if it was just a bunch of gangbangers and evil, no good doers, killing each other. Then they're taking care of the problem. I would have a different, moral issue with that, but it's an entirely different thing when they're releasing criminals to terrorize and wreak havoc on the population. And it's an unwitting and innocent populace who has already paid taxes to keep those people locked away.
Yeah, maybe a escape from New York situation is the answer here. Just lock down New York and just all the people that they let out, just let them back into New York and get all the innocent people out. You guys ever see that movie, by the way, Escape from New York or Escape from LA?
That's that with Kurt Russell, right?
Yeah, Kurt Russell.
I love a whole series with them.
Yeah.
No, and it's sad that we're talking about this, like Tom said. You get to that point where like, oh, see, we told you the next lockdown's coming or the next whatever's coming, and what are we doing to put in place? And that's we mentioned maybe about 15-20 minutes ago talking about those local elections and making sure you have individuals who aren't going to bow down to those types of pressure or powers because they know the people that they're watching over or representing are going to hold them accountable, where they just go in and say, no, you ain't going to do this anymore. And I think we forget how much power we actually have as individuals in this country and what we're able to do versus what they have convinced us we can't do.
Well, I think Tom actually made this point a little bit earlier. We have to stop satisfying ourselves with the "I told you so"s. Because that's exactly what we're doing. We're going, hey, this monkeypox thing, as somebody was just saying in the chat, they're going to try to lock us down over that, and it's stupid because it's literally only spreading from anal. It's only spreading in bathhouses and gay orgies. But when they do it,
trips at Boy Scouts,
Boy Scout camping trips. But when they do it, most conservatives and libertarians even are just going to be like, "Oh, I told you so," and they're going to satisfy themselves. They can get a bunch of likes on Twitter because they predict it and give themselves a pat on the back, and they'll bring up that tweet and frame it, be like, "Look, on this date, I said this, and this is happening, and I told you so. Now I can feel good about myself." And we satisfy ourselves with that instead of realizing that we actually have power to wield, and we don't wield it.
Well, speaking of celebrating the predictions coming correct while standing in a gulag, Drew, do you have any predictions for the next 4 to 6 years, politically or otherwise? Do you see culturally or socially anything that you would put a flag in, and we can come back to and see if you're right?
I don't think Biden will be the Democratic nominee in 2024. I think that's all I got. I think they would be very dumb to run Joe Biden, because anyone could beat Biden, whoever the Republicans want to run.
Yep.
They have to get rid of him somehow, whether it's, intentionally giving him COVID or whatever.
I'm not even sure he's going to be around come midterms. I know that sounds like a crazy prediction. I said it on my show this week. I think he's so unpopular, they want to get rid of him before midterms so people aren't looking at him down ballot. They're not going, well, if I vote for all these Democrats, they're going to push Joe Biden's policies. And maybe they're dumb enough to believe that it'll be different with Kamala, but either way, I think that he's that unpopular. They just want to get rid of him now.
That would be a ballsy move that they did that.
Alex Jones predicted it. He's been right about a lot of stuff. I'm just saying.
Well, it just
I'm
would make
starting to agree
sense
with him.
if you were writing this like a good author, like if you were George R.R. Martin and you're trying to write the political climax of this season, it's the midterms coming up. What you would do is have the doddering old fool patriarch of the party, who everyone knows is also an anchor and a millstone around the neck of the left, and they'd get rid of him. And that would be like the 9th episode in the 10-part season. And so then that last one is like that cliffhanger of who's going to take the throne or what have you. And so I don't think it'll be Kamala. I've seen more people than not say Pete Buttigieg is being groomed for that role, that he would be replacing the VP and then he would be anointed. But how lame would that be for your ascension to the highest office? Would be that you went on vacation with a kid you didn't have, pretended to feed it with a boob you don't have, so essentially grooming, and then you went into a job no one wants you in and didn't vote for you to be having. I mean, that makes no sense to me.
Well, it's all about check boxes, right? They just got to say, oh, look, we had the first gay guy, right? Or the first woman or multiracial woman or whatever. They keep adding races to Kamala. I'm surprised they haven't made her gay yet to check a box.
Pete Buttigieg should just come out as gender fluid. Like, he should do this now. If I were his political strategist, I would tell him, you need to go into the leftist circles, the hardest ones, and just first hint at the fact that you really, you feel really you feel supportive of the gender fluid people the most. Start hinting at that, make them draw it out of you. And then you can at any point in time claim to be a woman or a man. It'll always benefit you. And no one can accuse him of just, appropriating that, because he is a white male, but he is an openly gay guy. And so what would they be, homophobic?
Well, maybe they push Levine to the top of the ticket.
I don't think he's going to be on the top of anything.
But I also think we're overlooking one thing, is that Joe Biden, the reason that he was a viable candidate, whether, I'm not saying they didn't fortify and do a bunch of stuff, but there was more people that would have voted for Joe. And if you just look at the primaries, this is true, because Joe Biden, his entire career, has been the average of the left of the Democrat Party at its time. So
or below average, but it just wasn't Trump. But to your point, it's just they would have voted for him regardless of who it was.
I'm just saying his positions
him being terrible.
Yeah, I'm just saying his positions are directly in the middle of the Democrat Party at any given time. So in the 90s, when the middle of the Democratic Party, it was okay to be against gay marriage, he was against gay marriage. This is how Joe has always operated. He's just an algorithm. He's just a pen in an algorithm. That's all he is. And Kamala Harris, who lost first in the primaries, was the hard left candidate. So as much as we want, you can make the jokes that, or even, have the opinion that Buttigieg could benefit from these leftist things. And he would amongst the hardcore left, but he wouldn't. He laughed about Buttigieg. He wouldn't benefit. The entire Democratic Party has not gone totally insane enough, I think, to want a non-binary, child-stealing pederast. That's my point. So,
well, he's currently a secretary. I mean, he's in the cabinet right now. So
sure, appointed though, but not voted in.
Yeah. Well, that's.
Well, he was appointed just so that they can say, hey, I
would argue that Joe Biden was also appointed and not voted.
I'm agreeing with that as well. I'm just saying, I don't think that they want to put... I think that with Kamala Harris, the entire algorithm behind that, or the entire decision behind that, was this is who we want. I mean, Gerald Ford literally predicted this. He said our first female president will happen after we elect a straight white man with a female president next to him. And I didn't say straight white man, I'm sorry, but he said a man, right, with a female vice president, and then he will die or resign, and that's how we'll get our first female president. So
back then, it was assumed that he would be a straight white man.
Yeah, I know.
But now it's just that Joe Biden, I don't think we can assume he's straight. If anything, Joe Biden's probably secretly gender fluid. He probably doesn't care what the 9-year-old is.
I don't think he does. Yeah.
No, not at all. Yeah. So anyway, we got about 20 minutes left before the end of the show. Don't forget, if you haven't hit that like button, subscribe button, make sure you do it. Smash it. Hit that share button. It'd be fantastic. We can get this out a little bit further. And don't forget, if you have any super chats, they will be read during the last 10 minutes of the show as we address them and answer any questions you guys might have. Or maybe you have a question for Drew and you want to get his thoughts on something since Tom keeps always speaking over him. I'm just kidding, Tom.
Drew, what was your opinion on Stranger Things season 4?
I haven't watched any Stranger Things. I don't really watch TV shows.
Good for
That's
you.
a good answer, actually.
That's awesome. That's based.
Super based. Yeah. No, I mean, do you guys think though that I'm right about the fact that they don't actually want to push a super hard left candidate for president when they're trying to get rid of Biden?
Because I think that the super woke people, I still think they're a small minority who are just very loud on Twitter. I think the majority of Democrats are still like your blue collar, people, or younger people who just think we need more welfare or whatever. Like, I don't think Pete Buttigieg, I don't think he would be the nominee because he's gay. There's still a big portion of Democrats who would not vote for a gay candidate.
Even in minority circles.
Literally millions of them voted for Obama.
That's a conspiracy that's worth talking about, by the way.
I mean, it's like a conspiracy, kind of. Like,
well, it's like I call things conspiracies that are facts because that's how the general public looks at them. He
was credibly accused of doing drugs and having a gay man slurp him.
Yes. And that guy died after giving congressional testimony about it, but we won't talk about that, right?
That's another show.
That is a whole nother show. But yeah, no, like I guess openly gay would be the the clarifier there. Yeah. No, I think the left has gone definitely further left in pretty much every regard, and the mainstream left, and I'm not even saying it's the majority, but the mainstream left is hardcore leftist Marxist. But I think you're right. I think that they know, especially like you said, amongst minority communities, which they're relying on. They're a coalition of a bunch of minorities. They're not going to get the black vote. They're not going to get the Latina vote with a white straight or a white gay man who stole a baby from a woman deprived of its mother. Like, I just don't think that's a winning. If like you said, if they appoint him, sure. But like, as far as somebody actually want to convince the American people that was voted for, 85 million or whatever it is the next time, record-breaking votes. I don't think Buttigieg is the candidate.
No, okay, that's fair enough. Fair enough. So we won't see Levine be the candidate either.
No way.
I
mean,
goodness.
that would be if they know, like, okay, listen, there's an upcoming recession. Another one after this one. There's an upcoming recession that's going to happen. Let's just give it to the Republicans. That's when they would do that.
Speaking of recession, obviously they still are in denial, or they don't want to address it. The administration right now, they're saying we're not in a recession because all these other categories showing that we're not in a recession, even though we are in a recession. Even Jim Cramer over on what is that, CNBC or whatever, with his money thing, we're not in a recession. That dude's wrong about everything. You buy exactly what he tells you to buy, or you don't buy what he tells you to buy, because it's probably going to tank. Drew, do you see us coming out of this recession anytime soon? Do you think?
I mean, I'm sure they'll do what they can to get out of it. I think it's going to be bad. I think gas prices, they're starting to fall at least. But I mean, whenever you had 2020 and 2021, they were just passing stimulus left and right. Like, eventually the bill's going to come for that. And that's happening now. I mean, they can always try to postpone the recession and the debt. But I mean, the longer you hold it off, the worse it's going to be whenever it does hit.
Yeah, I mean, these people believe in modern monetary theory. For people who don't know what that is, it's essentially an inflation ticket. Like, it's going to create more inflation. So that's my problem, is that we have people like, I only want to disagree with you just a little bit. Like, as the point that they'll actually do something about it. I think they're creating it, and even if it's not intentional, which I think a big part of it is intentional. I think that their whole theory around how the economy works is just going to continue to create this stuff. We've got people in the Biden administration who praise Mao's Little Red Book, who praise things like modern monetary theory, and as long as they continue to do this stuff, I don't think we're coming out of it.
Yeah, I mean, they can make things temporarily better. Like 2020, we had the big crash in March. Then it's like,
Sure.
oh, okay, things get better. We have stimulus checks. Everything's great. They can do that. They can do temporary, make things seem better. Eventually, they're not going to be able to even do that. And it
Well,
will just be.
you said it with the gas prices, though. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what they've done is they raised the gas prices to $5 a gallon. And now every day on Twitter, I see a tweet that says it's been 36 days of falling gas prices. Isn't this wonderful? And they actually are trying to sell people this idea that isn't this great? We're bringing the gas price down. Gas is $4.50 a gallon where I'm at. It's not good. But as long as they brought it, they overshot, and then they can reduce it a little bit at a time. They can actually put the headline out. Look how many days in a row Joe Biden has falling gas prices. It's a crock.
It's breaking your leg and giving you a crutch.
Yeah, every time somebody on Facebook, one of the normies on Facebook that I engage with, talk about gas prices are falling down. I sent them a picture of what gas prices were in 2021. I'm like, yep, still not there. So I'm not praising anybody.
Right. It's the Putin price hike, Frank. It's all Putin's fault. That's why gas was continually rising all the way from the beginning of Joe Biden's presidency till the invasion of Ukraine.
So why is it dropping now? Is it because Putin did he take his tax hike away?
Well, that's if we're supposed to believe it's a Putin price hike, right? Wouldn't the actual rational answer be that gas prices are falling because of Putin?
Yeah,
we'd have to give him the praise as
we
well,
give
right?
Him the credit, right?
Yeah, so 60 days or whatever of falling gas prices is Putin. So we should be thanking Joe Biden.
They should tweet that out. Thank you, Putin, for the falling gas prices.
Yeah, I mean,
someone had said in the comments in the chat that the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is about 6 months. And this is what I was referring to with Frank the other night. Figured I'd put this up on the screen again. I put this together, and it's not correct. It's not to scale. Nothing is correct here in terms of a key. But this is kind of my thought here is, hey, at the very top there on the left, we've got a conspiracy theory kind of lagging behind the truth. It comes that Alex Jones says that they're going to put cloned beef into the market. And then only 20 years later, are they admitting it on NPR like it's cool? We get a little closer to these midterms here where I think we're going to first see some overlap of the news telling you outright blatant lies, telling you they're true. You're going to know in the moment that it's not true. Meanwhile, you're going to know the conspiracy is true. And I think as we move forward, you're going to hear the truth leading. That's just what I got there. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate right there.
Yeah, spot on.
I mean, the lag time between conspiracy and truth is getting shorter every day.
We're like right here.
Yep, pretty much.
In the danger zone. The danger zone.
That's the classic Top Gun movie there. Top Gun movie song. Who was that? Kenny Loggins?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we're here at the 12-minute mark. We got a couple of super chats we'll go ahead and pull up and talk about. If you have any questions or you have any other super chats, now would be the time to go ahead and put them in. We'll go ahead and address them, what we have here. So I'll go ahead and pull a couple up, and we'll talk about them for a second. Got this one here. I'm not even going to pronounce to try to say the name. Anybody want to take a stab at that?
This is Drew's job.
It's Risu Masuta.
Perfect.
Says our culture has been subverted and or corrupted. It's both self-inflicted and foreign influenced.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, though. I mean, it's self-inflicted by people who are puppets of people like Klaus Schwab, which is the foreign influence. So it's hand in hand for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, thank you so much for the super chat. And we have another one from him here, or her. I don't want to assume anybody's gender. Says, I just dropped in to see how it's going and hooked my guy Frank up. Support the channel as best you can. My friends got to go. God bless you all. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Risu Masuta.
Risa,
we appreciate it.
Risu Masuta sounds like a guy, I think.
Let me also say something on that. So YouTube probably does not like this channel, or let's be frank, or the content of this stream. So yes, do your part in promoting this. Like it, share it, all that stuff. It's very important. You wouldn't believe how important that is.
Yeah, and we are streaming on Odysee and Rumble as well. So support us on those platforms if you can. Because
if you're seeing this right now, it is your job to hit like, share, comment, etc.
Yep.
And we have this one from Ocean Breeze Salty. This is what everybody thought I was doing last stream, because I would disappear. Drew, you weren't here for the last stream. I would disappear every about 10 minutes or so. And these guys thought I was actually going to check out my pizza and see if I had a pizza on it, because we had talked about pizza.
And you just broke the seal.
Yeah, I just had to break
Drew,
the seal.
he's leaving out the part where he just wouldn't say anything. He would just drop off. So
yeah, he
it'd be
never
like,
said like I'll be right back.
where did he
He's
go?
just gone.
He would just leave and then come back and just stare like nothing happened.
I was like, I must have said something. Damn it.
Yeah. Oh, were you checking on your pizza?
No, I wasn't. But Ocean Breeze Salty says, have a DiGiorno ready for Sharon when she gets home from work. Thank you so much, Denise. Yes, I will. I will. Thank you so much. Yeah, I haven't seen my wife. She's been tending to my in-laws because they had come down with the vid. So she's been there with them. So hopefully I'll see her in the next couple days.
Well, praying for your in-laws, Frank.
Thank you. Here's one from Rodney. He says, go Chiefs.
I agree with that. Good comment.
No, YouTube doesn't like truth, patriots, friends, and families. Very true. Very true. Yeah. Maybe if I did more things with pronouns, maybe I would get there it is. Frank isn't handing out pronouns. It's the reason why we're not
I think from now on though, if somebody puts a comment we don't know if it's a male or a female, we should just make up new pronouns for them. I don't know if you saw this story about there's a new frog pronoun now. Have you seen this? Yeah, let me see. I think I got the video here.
While he's doing that real quick, let me get John Smith's question. He says, I have a question. I'm presuming maybe this is toward Drew. How can we get more normies involved with politics? What do you think, Drew?
I don't think you really can. I think a lot of what gets people involved in politics is it affecting them personally. For the most part, you're people who they just want to, watch TV and they're not interested. I don't think you can get them interested. Like, I think there's just a big portion of people who never will be, until it affects them personally.
Well, I think maybe then your answer is tank the economy like Joe Biden has done.
Exactly. There you go.
I mean, that is getting more people interested. I think this midterms looks really bad for the left for that reason.
We do
if it's fair.
We do have another question. IIRC.life says, hey boys, if you were asked why should I be proud of America? How would you answer that?
We're better than everyone else.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you got, PJ?
Yeah, it's a weird one for me because it's like Drew's right. I've traveled around the world. Like people complain about this country for legitimate reasons. But when people want to leave this country, I don't get it. Like for me, I'd rather fight for this country over anywhere else in the entire world. I do have a huge problem with the fact that right now our main export is wokeism. And I think that there's a case to be made in some instances, and I think the overturning of Roe v. Wade cuts against that, which is a good thing. That America went from a country that tolerated evil to a country that does evil things and is becoming evil. I think Roe v. Wade was a case for that. But yeah, no, I think that I think this country is absolutely the greatest country in the world. I think that we have all the potential to be great again, and I'd rather die for this country and fighting for it than ever go anywhere else.
Yeah, ditto here. Same thing. I got a chance to visit Mexico one time, and I saw the extreme poverty in a lot of the areas that I went to. Yeah. And I said, we have it so great where we're at. Even we were considered poor growing up, was still more wealthy than what I got to visit in Mexico. So, being here in America, I just absolutely love this nation. And I would do everything to fight for this nation to ensure that, we are able to still be able to preserve what we, even right now, what we currently have is still better than everywhere else in the world.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I just think about there are other countries in the world and have been to where people are starving to death and they don't have enough food and they're malnourished. We are so wealthy in America that obesity is a problem. Like, there are more people who eat too much and have too much at their hands than not enough. That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could lose 90% of the things that we own at home and still be more wealthy than the majority of other people around the world.
We are the top 1%, by the way. When you hear these Bernie bros, talking about the 1%, that's all of us. Every one of us in America by a world standard. So
you have that video?
What's Tom? I want to hear Tom's answer.
Yeah, Tom.
Well, geez, you guys are all going for like, hey, our lowest standard is still better than the other lowest. I'm like, guys, you should be proud of like the smartest retard in your class. I'm thinking about like, how about like we represent freedom? How about without us, there would be no idea of free speech, free expression, free religion, free press. Those things don't exist in nearly every other part of the world, and only but for a few small areas in the world do they try to emulate what we have here. It ain't perfect, but it beats the pants off of everything else.
Yeah, I think that's actually the perfect answer, because you're right. Everywhere else in the world that has any idea of a constitution the way that we do it, free speech, there is no free speech anywhere else in the world, not even Canada. That's the thing. When the leftists want to talk about how wonderful other semi-socialist or full-on socialist countries are, they point to places like Canada, and it's like, you're literally ran by Castro's son. And your police threaten to kill people's dogs if they protest. Like, you're not a great country.
I mean, I do laugh at that, but also, our guy. It's like scoreboard. Right. Like someone points at the scoreboard. It's like, yeah, well, we have Biden.
True.
We live in the glassest of houses.
But then it goes back to what you said, which is our foundation as a foundational idea of our country. That I think we can get back to. That is exactly where it's at. That's why I said I'd rather fight for this country than go anywhere else, because what you're fighting for in this country, what conservatism is to hopefully go back to a foundational understanding of those freedoms and liberties. So,
and I was going to say this earlier. You mentioned the, conservatives leave space for other people. The left wants to control every, thing that's mentioned in the conversation so that they own all opinion. I don't just leave it. I don't leave just space for other people to have a difference of opinion because I think it's to my morals. I also am hoping that someday there's a different party, that it's not just conservatism, but there's a new twist to it that makes things even better. That's even more improved. Like, I want there to be progression or progress, but not the way that the progressives say it. And I feel like there's not another group or party that feels that way today. So hopefully that's another reason that we can attract young people to the conservative movement, is by continuing to make it better. And kind of what you were saying, PJ, that's making America great again, which is to improve upon it, not just replace and repeal whatever they were doing bad before.
Yeah, we have the super chat here. It says, if we drone strike the call centers in foreign countries that call me about my car's extended warranty, I'll pay even more taxes.
I second that movement.
Man, the call is coming from inside the country.
Thank you, man. Overboard Media. Appreciate that super chat. Thank you so much. Let me grab this real quick. You want to pull up that video that you have?
Yeah, I got that video. So this is if you guys are looking for a new gender, if you guys leave a chat and we can't tell you are, we're gonna make one up for you like this.
For the frog self pronouns, you would say something like, Frog went to the store and Frog got a new skirt for Frog self. Isn't it so cute? And then for my bug pronouns, you would say something like, Bug's special interest is Monster High. Bug loves talking about it and it always makes Bug really happy.
Yeah, so you could be Bug self or Frog self, or what was that cat one that we saw earlier this week?
All right. Well, go ahead.
There's an echo again.
Yeah, PJ got your audio off.
My bad.
There we go. PJ's never running the show again. I went ahead and put in the links in the chat there for everybody. If you want to check out Lockout Days and where you can find them, I linked his link tree, and you can find him on all the different places he is at. And I just want to give Drew just a minute here. He can just shout out his channel and tell you a little bit about what he likes to talk about over there. Drew, go ahead.
Yeah, so I tweet sometimes, not very much anymore, but that's mostly just nonsense. My YouTube channel, I've been talking a lot about economics, free market economics, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I'm on YouTube, Lockout Days, or you can look up Drew Hancock. I'm on Odysee, and yeah, that's me. And on the pronoun thing, if I can just say, I was kind of thrown out whenever we started and we didn't start with our pronouns, but I'm glad we got through it and I didn't get misgendered at any point.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, as we are wrapping up for tonight, we had another great stream. Hopefully everybody enjoyed themselves. Everybody got a chance to drink on their favorite beverage as we got through today's week in news that what we had. Dr. Ping, I identify as a non-Biden. I love it. And I hope you guys will check us out. During the week, I will post segments from this show over on the Last American Pubcast channel. You guys can check out the small segments I put out there. And, of course, you can follow all the links for our good friends here, myself. You guys can find me over on Let's Be Frank. And, PJ, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter or Instagram or pretty much anywhere at PJ_Patriot. Or look up Wartime Propaganda on Rumble, on Odysee, YouTube, any of that stuff. So appreciate you guys supporting me and supporting this channel. And, yeah, if you guys are watching this show, please check out everybody on here. Drew, Tom, Frank, everybody, every one of us is trying to put out content outside of this. And besides myself, I think all of the content these guys are putting out is pretty great. So
well, I appreciate
I put out subpar content, but you can still check it out.
I'm going to clip that. I'm going to use that as an ad later on the America Floats channel, which is on Odysee, BitChute, Rumble, all of the other platforms. You'll find it at America Floats on literally everything. I think if I'm missing one, you can send an email to americafloats@protonmail.com and on Twitter @Float Show. We do the live stream. It's called the Float Show every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:00, and we'll see you there.
Next week, PJ, do you want to give a sneak peek of who our guest might be next week?
Can I say?
Yeah, you can say.
Okay, so next week we had heard you guys. I think it was last week asking us who we wanted to vote for in the primaries for governor in Michigan, and I was actually able to secure an interview with Ryan Kelly. So if you guys want to hear what he's about, we'll talk to him. We've got a half hour with him that's coming up next week, and we'll kind of break that down and talk about some of the other people that are running in case any of our Michigan followers want to know who to vote for. So.
Yeah, there we go. And also, we also got Bryson Gay. I better not slip up and tell him that.
He's making an announcement.
We'll have Bryson Gray with us as well. I'm not sure if it's going to be this week coming up along with Mr. Kelly there, or it will be the following week. I got to work out a couple of the schedule details with him, but he has agreed to be on the show. So I'm very excited about having him on as well. And we were very excited about having Drew here with us. Hopefully Drew will come back in the future and join us again and lift his glass to his favorite beverage as we get out of here for our end of the last American Pubcast. So thank you everybody for being here tonight. Hope to see all of you guys next week, and stay safe out there and stay hydrated. We'll talk to you guys a little bit later. Have a great night, everybody.